We're live in person right now. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, you're like, what is this background? The commenters win, Connor.
I know. Here we are.
The commenters win.
Officially in the Kernersville mom's basement recording an NBA show. You guys were right. You were always right.
No, it's mom's basement. Mom's unfinished basement. Yeah. Even worse.
Even worse, yeah. Thanks for the Wi-Fi. Shout out.
People are watching right now. They're looking at this like, oh, it looks kind of decent. They have no idea what's behind this camera. no idea. Clue. It looks like a hurricane just went through here. But we're live right now. We're recording Sunday afternoon. NBA show. NBA pod. That's why you clicked on it and everything. Connor, has this been the least watchable NBA season?
Well, not according to NBA viewership numbers that they've reported, but I think it's been the least I've cared about the NBA regular season through 3 months so far.
Yeah, it just feels dead.
Yeah, and like there's certain games, like there was a few in-season tournament games that I was like, okay, I care about this. I'll turn this on, a standalone game here and there, but I've watched less League Pass this year than I have the last probably 3 or 4 years.
100%. And especially, Hornets, it makes it like 10 times worse, but that's a different... We'll push Hornets Minute to the very end of the show so people don't have to suffer through that. We have the standings up. Connor printed out the standings and notes and everything. I just see Charlotte 7-24 staring at me right now as we're recording. But with the Charlotte Hornets, with all these teams right now, I also think... It's this interesting dynamic because obviously there's always going to be tanking. There's always going to be people pushing for draft picks. But in an elite draft class like we have coming up next year, it makes the tanking so much worse because it's instead of 3-4 teams extremely tanking, we're up to like 8-9 now.
Yeah, there's 5 teams I'm looking at right now that have 7 or less wins, and the Brooklyn Nets are wasting no time getting their name back in the hat. They're 12-19 right now, but they're trading away everyone.
They're trying.
Schroeder's gone. Finney Smith is gone. I guarantee
Cam Johnson's
Cam Johnson will be gone by New Year's. Watch.
Where does he go?
Next 2 days. That's tough.
That's the other thing. Like now, the NBA salary cap with the second apron stuff has turned it. Like we do the NFL show.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Go watch the NFL show. We do that and we talk about salary cap stuff. And we talked about like the New Orleans Saints this week and the Browns and their cap stuff. But like the NFL cap is so impossible to understand. And the NBA one is becoming like that. The NBA one was pretty simple for a long time. And now it's just impossible to understand. And now apparently nobody can afford Cam Johnson except for like San Antonio.
And he's on a good number. He's making like right at $20 million a year. Yep. And for Cam Johnson, a guy that's averaging career numbers this year on the Nets, that's a pretty good number. But because of all the CBA stuff and the apron stuff where teams are just desperately trying to avoid hitting that second apron, all of a sudden you don't have as many suitors. And I think from a fan perspective, entertainment value wise, that kind of hurts the league because there's not as many potential trades, not as many people talking about trade destinations. The trade deadline's going to suck again this year, I guarantee it. So from a fan perspective, the new cap stuff sucks, and that's what really set the NBA apart. Is this star might get traded here, this player might get traded here. We don't know what's going to happen in February, and now with the new apron stuff.
And it kind of leads into our topic right now. Like D'Angelo Russell gets traded away from the Lakers.
Yep.
And Dorian Finney-Smith in at the Nets and some other stuff as well in that trade. But it kind of the Lakers just kind of ended up like, oh crap, this is all we can do. That's what that trade kind of felt like to me.
Yeah, and D'Angelo Russell's really fallen out of favor. He started the first 8 games of the season, I believe I wrote down, and he's been off the bench the last few. But there was even a clip of him last night just standing in the corner, chucking up a 3 like he didn't care, hitting the side of the backboard. And for those that missed it a few hours ago, Lakers got Dorian Finney-Smith, Shake Milton in exchange for D'Angelo Russell, Maxwell Lewis, 2 second-round picks. The Lakers are sitting 18-13 right now. They're 10-4 in their 14 home games, 7.5 games out of first place. They're in an okay spot in the Western Conference, but I just don't know how much this moves the needle, if we're being honest.
It doesn't, but it helps.
It does help.
Does this trade open up things for Bronny?
All of a sudden, Bronny under 2.5 points is on every single sports book. No, the thing is, I think it was if you're Brooklyn's sitting 12-19 right now. They want to get their name back in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. They are the 4th worst team in the East right now. Charlotte, Toronto, and Washington are below them. That's bad for them. They're in no man's land right now. Yeah. They're usually where the Hornets are.
And you talk about those teams, Charlotte, Toronto, Washington. They're not going to win many more games this season. Charlotte's probably the one you're looking at like, oh, they could rattle off 5 wins to ruin their draft stock.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping. But
even then, though, like, we're not getting into Hornets Minute, I promise. But with the Nets, too, I mean, that's why they got rid of everything so they could get their original picks back,
right,
and actually tank. And the fact that they were better than they thought, I don't think they were better than they thought. I think people underestimated how important this next draft class is, and underestimated how many teams are just going to say, you know what, we have zero shot of even winning a first-round playoff series.
Yeah,
let's tank. This is a great draft class. 7 to 8, maybe even 9 guys in this current draft class coming up would have been the number 1 overall pick consensus in last year's draft.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Brooklyn, and credit Sean Marks and the general management at the Brooklyn Nets, they now have 31 draft picks over the next 7 years, 15 first-rounders, 16 second-rounders. So they're doing a good job because, yes, they were kind of frisky this year. They've been competing in some of these games against these better teams. But, I mean, if you're the Nets, what is the goal of going 35-47 and being a 10 seed? It's like, okay, yeah, a few exciting games. We'll get to host a play-in game maybe, whatever. What's the end goal there?
No,
so I'm not even mad at the Nets for doing this.
No, and they have to. You have to get in the Cooper Flag. I mean, it's not even the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. That's getting overblown, and that's getting pushed by media hype. Like, I love Cooper Flag. Obviously, I'm a Duke fan. I think he's easily the number 1 pick. I just still think there's so many good effing players in this upcoming draft that as long as you're in that top 5, you're going to be thrilled.
Would Ian Jackson have been a top 5 pick in this past year's draft?
Oh, 100%.
That's
100%.
Crazy.
Check out the college basketball show. We'll talk about Ian Jackson on there. I love him.
Yeah, he's great.
He's
great.
awesome.
We'll do some more engaging stuff here. From a Lakers standpoint, that's what people want to hear, Karter. My ESPN roots. From a Lakers standpoint, their tax bill drops from $53 million to $42 million. That's one of the main reasons they did this. And also from a basketball perspective wise, D'Angelo Russell just kind of doesn't fit that team anymore.
Yeah, he takes up the ball too much. He's like the Hunter Dickinson. I keep doing college basketball. He's like the Hunter Dickinson of the NBA, where for him to be effective, he has to have the ball in his hands too much.
Yep.
But when he has the ball in his hands too much, it doesn't result in winning basketball, but results in good stats for D'Angelo Russell.
And this year he's averaging a career low 12 points a game, 33% from 3. So if you're the Lakers, you kind of lost your need for him because Austin Reeves has the ball in his hands a lot more. He does turn it over a decent amount, but he had 16 assists last night as the primary facilitator. Yes, it's against the Kings defense that is less than stellar, I would say. But D'Angelo Russell being gone means more on-ball touches for Austin Reeves. Obviously, you have LeBron running the show in key moments in big games in a potential playoff series. It's going to be LeBron with the ball in his hands. And now, instead of a D'Angelo Russell who's a liability on the wing on defense, you add Dorian Finney-Smith, who is a stereotypical 3-and-D player. Look, he's shooting 5.5 threes a game this year. That's a career high. Also, 43.5% from 3. It's also a career high for Finney-Smith. He adds wing defense. Like I said, puts the ball in Reeves and LeBron's hands more. I think it's the right move for the Lakers. I mean, if you're the Lakers, you don't really need D'Angelo Russell anymore.
Do you think J.J. Redick hated the way he played?
Had to. Yeah,
I was about to
had
say,
to have.
He seems like the most anti-J.J. Redick basketball player on that roster.
I think D'Angelo Russell, people talk about the Jazz and Colin Sexton and Keontae George as like the tank commanders.
Yeah.
If you give D'Angelo Russell the ball like he's about to have on the Brooklyn Nets, is there a better player to tank with? Maybe Cam Thomas. That's the new dynamic duo.
Oh my! The problem is they're gonna win. They're gonna win a couple games.
What if D'Angelo Russell just has another awesome Nets run and they make the playoffs?
That's what I'm kind of worried about. But then it kind of becomes a trade piece. At least you can convince another team where
the Lakers again, Brooklyn to LA. Let's run it back.
You're like, hey, Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. I know. Golden State.
Yeah, Golden State, Minnesota. That's hilarious. Any other news and notes? I think we hit that.
Yeah, that was the big one here. Wembanyama plays chess in New York City. How do we feel about that? Better than a nightclub.
Yeah, no, that's great. When we talked for Church Ball, we talked to the director of recruiting. He was a big scouting guy forever, for like 25 years and whatnot. He'd have to scout these prospects and figure out what's going on with them and like their personalities. And he said the number one thing is he's like, okay, you're in Miami. Yep. You just got $1 million signing bonus. You can go out to the club. Like, what are you going to do tonight? He's like, I'm going to go back and chill and play Xbox, or I'm going to play board games or whatever. He's like, that guy's going to be amazing.
I'm going to play Catan.
Yep. I'm going to play Settlers of Catan.
Funniest tweet I saw, the first reply to Wemby's tweet was, how will we know it's you? I thought that was funny. Other relevant news and notes, Mike Brown fired by the Kings after 21 games. They had a 13-18 record with him. If you run through Mike Brown's tenure in Sacramento, 46 and 36 last year. They missed the playoffs. 2 years ago, they were 48 and 34. They lost to Golden State in the first round in 7 games. That's when Curry had 50 in that game 7. So total, he was 107 and 88 in about 2.5 years with the Kings. He won Coach of the Year not that long ago, Karter. So do you think that's the right move? I mean, the Kings are kind of in no man's land, but you have to blame somebody. It's easier to blame one person than 8 rotation guys.
And the other thing with the Kings too is like it's got a little inkling of the Dwayne Casey stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
Like when Dwayne Casey got fired from the Raptors and they were and the East was weak and it was much easier to win in the East, but you put this Kings team in the East at that time with Dwayne Casey, like the Kings were going to finish first or second in the East and then lose to LeBron. Like they are that kind of team, and I think this becomes a bigger conversation with the Kings. Is okay. Look, a couple years ago, wasn't it fun? The Kings, they make the play and make the playoffs, light the beam. It was really fun. But then you finally realize, did we kind of waste the last 3 years?
I don't know if it's a waste because a franchise that has been so irrelevant for so long. You look at like the Lakers or the Celtics, and it's like, okay, if they're not making the third round of the playoffs, then it's probably a failure of a season. But if you look at the Kings, who have been so irrelevant for so long, I mean, it's almost a success just to be talked about. And that as Hornets fans, I would kill to be in the playoffs 1 year out of the last 3.
Yeah, that's
fair.
I
hate to say it, and I know that's like a losing mentality, but if you're the Kings, you've had a pretty good run. You've had Fox and Sabonis arguably should have been all-stars the last couple of years. Like, you've got good players, you're relevant, and you're in big games, Game 7 against Golden State. I know you're not making the Western Conference Finals, but it's a lot better than where they were.
Yeah, it's interesting because now it's a decision of, okay, do we keep Fox and Sabonis and keep running this back and try and piece something around it? Clearly, that is not going to result in a championship.
Yeah.
We know the ceiling of this team. They are the Indiana Pacers just in the Western Conference, where, look, terrible defense, very fun offense, very fun team to watch, but there is a clear ceiling with this team, or they turn into what the Chicago Bulls are right now.
Let me be very clear. The problem in Sacramento is not Mike Brown. The problem in Sacramento is De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis are exciting, but like you said, how far are they going to take you?
You saw Mike Malone's press conference thing where he's like, that same guy did this, and this is how it works. They're going to blame this person before they blame that person, blah, blah, blah. He's 100% right.
He is.
But
that historically, that's what we see. Look at this right here. 12 of the last 17 Coach of the Years have been fired by that team. 12 of the last 17 coaches that have won Coach of the Year have eventually been fired by that franchise. Or resigned. D'Antoni resigned. But 12 of the last 17, and Budenholzer resigned. It's insane. And you look back at it, Mike Brown, gone. Monty Williams, gone. Nick Nurse, fired. Budenholzer, fired. Dwayne Casey, fired. The list goes on and on, all the way back to Byron Scott in 2008.
Holy smokes.
12 of the last 17 have resigned or been fired. So it's almost like the expectations when you win Coach of the Year. It's like, okay, let's make the third round of the playoffs. That doesn't happen. We'll see you later. So it's like, seriously. Do you want to win Coach of the Year? I don't know. Maybe that award's the Grim Reaper.
Maybe that's the new Madden curse. I'm looking at the standings right now. You see like teams like the Pelicans and the Wizards and stuff at the bottom of the standings. I was surprised when I didn't already see that E next to it, like eliminated already.
They could have put that E down there for a few teams before the season even started, to be honest.
Oh my goodness. There are some of these teams down here. But we should probably talk about some of the better teams.
Let's do it.
Anything else on the Kings real quick?
No.
I think that's
I wouldn't be. You think Fox gets traded?
I don't know who can get him.
Yeah, that's the thing with the new apron stuff. I don't know what to do. But if you're the Kings, you almost kind of got to reset it because how far is DeRozan, Fox, Sabonis going to take you? Oh, and one more note on the Kings. I actually did have one note on the Kings I wanted to share. I think they're one of my teams I wrote down to blow it up. Yeah, here it is. Their bench is horrible. That's the point I wanted to hit on.
Yeah, it is.
Who was it? Trey Lyles, Kevin Werder, Keon Ellis, and Alex Lynn.
Alex Lynn.
They're 28th in bench scoring. Top 5 easiest schedule played so far. Top 5 toughest schedule remaining. So where do you go from here? The DeRozan thing is like, yeah, we added DeMar DeRozan, cool. But you take the ball out of Keegan Murray's hands. He's down to 15% usage percentage from 18 last year. And then the 5-man lineup of Fox, Monk, DeRozan, Murray, Sabonis, they're starting 5, net rating of 0.9. So it's like, what are you doing? And then your bench sucks.
And what would you get out of Fox realistically?
Hopefully more than like DeJounte Murray got.
That's what I was going to say. It seems like it would be just a slight, spice up the DeJounte Murray trade. And That's what it would be. It's like, is that even worth it for Sacramento? Like,
probably not.
I'd rather just keep the asset.
Because then you're worse off.
Yeah, and hope someone gets desperate and goes, San Antonio's like, you know what? We got to figure out someone with Murray. Stephon Castle, he's great, but he's not quite there. He's not that all-star level player.
Yeah.
Let's go get Fox. Let's overpay.
Yeah, I'm with you. But you know what? That Halliburton trade they did, it's kind of becoming worse and worse for both teams. I mean, it's great for both teams, but Halliburton's been disappointing this year.
It's
not as bad as it looks.
That's the Bryce Young, Caleb Williams trade at this
point.
It
might be, yeah. Because, like, what are either of those guys really doing? Whatever.
They're both going to finish with 4 wins on the season.
Kings 13-19, 12th in the West right now. Long way to go for them.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a better team?
Yeah, I mean, you already mentioned them. Are the Cleveland Cavaliers a legitimate NBA title contender in your eyes?
I'm going to say yes.
Wow.
I'm going to say yes.
Wow.
And I always have questions in the postseason. We'll beat it to death. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley on the court together in 2024-25. Does that really work? Evan Mobley's actually been hitting a decent amount of threes this year. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. He has been a respectable guy. He makes guys guard him on the perimeter, which, you know, last year and 2 years ago, whenever this Cavs team really first came together, that was the problem. You leave Evan Mobley wide open, you're not worried. Go ahead, make one. Mm-hmm. This year,
43.7%.
There you go. And he's taken a couple of games. There's been multiple games where he's hit 3, 4, 5 3-pointers. They've kind of figured it out. And if, you know, I don't think they're going to be a title favorite, but if they get a favorable matchup, maybe one injury, maybe Porzingis goes down again for Boston, all of a sudden it's like they have a fighting chance.
Yeah, you look at the other teams in the East either. I mean, I think it's clear. The issue is I just don't know how the Cavaliers match up against the Celtics. And that's what you have to think about with title contenders is the Knicks and Celtics match up a little more better with each other, but the Cavaliers, the wings are always going to be a problem.
Well, I'll be honest. The way they'll have to match up with the Celtics is you play Evan Mobley at the 5, and you just take Jared Allen off the court.
Yeah,
that's the only way.
And how much worse does that make Cleveland? Because their game plan in the season is Jared Allen and Mobley on the court.
Yeah,
together.
I know. If you're Cleveland, though, you have to run Garland Mitchell, and then you got to get Okoro in there, another wing defender.
Yeah.
And then maybe Evan Mobley at the 5. I think they're legit. They're number 2 in net rating right now behind the Thunder. I think what they're doing is working. They're 27-4, but caveat, they have played the easiest schedule so far.
Yeah, but like
they have been waxing teams.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
And how much stock do we put in the regular season anyways?
Exactly, that's my problem. Like they're 27-4. They're on track for one of the best seasons ever. I don't believe in them as a title contender. Like I really, in my heart of hearts, don't see a world where Cleveland can beat Boston in a 7-game series. I don't think anybody outside of Boston is a title contender in the East.
That's what I was going to say. So you look down the list. The Knicks are 22-10. Do you feel better about them or Cleveland giving Boston a run for their money? Probably the Knicks.
New York.
Yeah, it has to be the Knicks, especially the way Towns is playing.
Or the Magic.
I don't know.
The Magic, healthy.
This is probably recency bias because I've been watching Jalen Suggs put up 30 shots and Tristan Da Silva put up 20 shots.
Goga Patatse, shout out.
Yeah, but you know what? It sucks having Paulo and Franz out, but these guys are getting experience. Anthony Black might be able to play in a playoff series. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like this actually matters. And Franz Wagner, I think we all have PTSD from what happened last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, we do.
But you have Paolo who can be that guy in a playoff series. We've seen that. He did it against Cleveland last season.
Yeah.
Obviously they didn't win, but Orlando I'm very high on.
Okay.
Like, ever since these guys went out with their injuries and the fact that they're still playing at this high level, we'll see if this is sustainable throughout these guys' injuries, but
yeah.
I'm high on this Orlando team still. They play so hard every single night.
They do.
So does Cleveland. I don't want to put that out. I want to make sure Cleveland.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's just hard for me to see Orlando as a team that's really going to give Boston a run for their money.
Yep.
Like if they play Boston, it's almost like the Pacers series last year where, okay, it's fun, but you know Boston's going to win.
Yeah, the shooting disparity is going to be the difference.
Yeah, and plus it's always, okay, Paolo, bail us out.
Yep.
Is really what it is.
And that's what it's going to boil down to until some things shift there.
Yeah.
But I still like the Magic a lot. But Cleveland, man, I mean, this is above the Utah Jazz when they were the 1 seed for sure. Because I think they were the ultimate frauds.
Yeah, or like those Raptors teams.
Them, Raptors, Hawks.
Big one.
The holy trinity of frauds. But the Cavaliers aren't in there. Cavaliers are, I think, a fringe title contender, genuinely. There's not one point during those seasons with the Hawks, Raptors, Jazz teams when they were the 1 seeds where you thought they can win the title. Doesn't matter LeBron was the 4 seed with the Cavs. Did not matter.
Oh, LeBron, your second best player is Jay Crowder?
Does not matter.
Yeah.
Does not matter. Nobody was ever taking them to win a series.
No.
Other than just to be different.
I'm with you on that.
What else you got?
Luka Doncic will miss at least 1 month with a left calf strain. Mavs are currently 20-11. 5-man lineup, Kyrie, Luka, Clay, PJ, Derek Lively, number 1 in net rating of 5-man lineups that have played at least 100 minutes. They've been good this year. They've been good. Kyrie's had some really good games this year. Are they going to be able to stay afloat without Luka Doncic over this next at least month and maybe longer? This is an injury that tends to linger. And 10 of their 16 games in January against teams above 500. So it's not like an easy stretch.
Yeah, but then you look at it and you go, okay, who are these specific teams above 500?
There's a few heavy hitters in there.
Are you that concerned about the Bucks playing the Bucks?
I mean, are you ever concerned about that playing the Bucks that much?
Yeah, exactly. But no, that's different. But with the Mavs, I'm not that worried, to be honest. January, I am interested to see, like, as a team that just played in the finals, this will be a real telling time for them, because whenever a team loses in the finals and has that hangover, and it's their first time making it deep in a playoff run, January is usually the time that we see, okay, this team doesn't care about the regular season.
Yeah.
This team's not fully bought in. There's issues with this team. And I almost wonder if the Luka injury helps them in a major way and forces them to get out of bed and, shake off some rust and say, no, we're bought in. Kyrie's going to be playing out of his mind. He's going to play for an all-star spot. And
40 the other night, yeah.
Yeah, and then Derek Lively, all these guys on the Mavs are going to be more bought in without Luka there. I actually think it could be spun into a positive.
And, we touched on it in the preseason preview show. The pieces they added are damn good. Quentin Grimes has been good. Najee Marshall's been good. Even Dinwiddie's had a couple moments for this team.
Clay can hit shots.
And Clay has actually been okay for them. There were some people that were like, this is going to be a disaster. And clearly not. If you're playing off Luka Doncic
and what
you're,
did they give up?
Exactly.
It can't be a disaster if you didn't give up anything.
I think you're right. And if you look at the West, but besides OKC, Dallas is the team I feel the best about making a run. And it's not just recency bias. You look at the standings. Memphis, Houston, they're above them in the standings. You got the Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, Wolves. The Dallas Mavericks, I think, are the second favorite title contender in the West. That was poorly worded, but they're the team I feel the second best about behind OKC.
Yeah, it's them. The problem with
I refuse to buy into Memphis. I refuse to buy into Houston for a playoff run.
Clippers, absolutely. They are the clear,
no.
If we could get a lot. The problem is they don't have first-round picks or anything, so they're not going to tank. And James Harden's good enough to where he can will this team to at least a play-in spot now,
I guess. And there's rumblings of Kawhi Leonard ramping up to come back. We'll see about that. And then Denver and Minnesota are train wrecks compared to last year. They just don't have it this year. I mean, and you look at Jokic, it's like, okay, it's almost like Mahomes. You don't want to bet against him in the playoffs because he's that good. But, man, Denver and Minnesota, I just can't see them really getting back to the finals.
We'll talk about those teams in a minute. Talking about Kawhi Leonard ramping it back up.
He's been ramping up for a while, long ramp.
Was that a Senthil tweet, Ballsack?
Was it?
I don't know.
I think it's real.
That's how bad NBA Twitter has gone. I genuinely can't tell the difference between Senthil and Ballsack. And shout out to those guys, whoever they are that run it, deserve the best marketing jobs and social media jobs.
It's great
because they have it down so well.
They do. They know exactly how to get people riled up.
I get Ballsacked at least once a week now. I used to be pretty good at vetting it out. I'm like, okay, no. And then I'll be reading a tweet. I'm like, and then I'm like, oh my gosh. I don't send out the Ballsack tweets. I double check it every time now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got me good with Baycott was academically ineligible last year.
Well, they do stuff that's realistic, or they'll just exaggerate it where it's like, oh, Kawhi Leonard's going to miss a month, and they're like, Kawhi Leonard out for the year.
Yep.
Or something like that, which is believable, but hilarious.
Yep. The other thing I was going to mention was, do we want to get into the Nuggets conversation?
Yeah, let's do it.
Jokic is by far and away the MVP. And I don't think it's even a debate with SGA this year. People are going to say, you are out of your mind. You think this is crazy. You think, oh, wow, you just love Jokic and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's close because I think if you put SGA on this Nuggets team, I think if you put any other superstar on this Nuggets team, they're a fringe playoff team. And if you take Jokic,
not even.
That was being generous.
Yeah.
If you take Jokic off this team, they are competing with the Washington Wizards for the number 1 pick.
Yeah, because you look at Denver right now; they're sitting at 7th in the West, 8 games out of the lead, and it could be worse. There's been multiple.
It should be worse.
There's been multiple games this year against Toronto. Is one that comes to mind where Jokic has single-handedly willed the Nuggets to a win after being down in the fourth quarter, and then Porter gets benched, and somehow the Nuggets still win.
And
it could be worse.
Like the Christmas Day game, I will never get over. I went to a Nuggets game earlier this year too, but the Christmas Day game was the most jarring Nuggets experience if you watched it, because I would count probably 20 wide open shots that came from Jokic passes, and only 2 were made.
Well, it's like how much faith do you have in Peyton Watson or even Julian Strawther or Westbrook to hit an open shot from Jokic?
Yeah, exactly.
And Westbrook's been good for them, but if he's open in the corner, I'm not that scared.
I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly.
You're happy with that shot as a defense, and so that's why I just can't get over how the SGA Jokic stuff. SGA's awesome, not discounting that. The Thunder are the number 2 title contender in my eyes, without question.
Yep.
The fact that the Nuggets are probably the 3rd title contender in the West outside of the Mavs,
just because Jokic.
Just because of Jokic.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But man, that team and that Murray extension came at the absolute worst time for Denver. After coming off an awful Olympics from Jamal Murray to give him all that guaranteed money, you kind of had to. But he looks a step slow this year. He's been a little better the last week or two, but.
And we always talk about like, oh, Jokic has never played with like a real all-star on this team and whatnot, and you always be like, oh, okay, that's kind of fake news a little bit, because Jamal Murray was like a fringe all-star.
Well, there's so many good guards in the West.
Maybe he should have made it and whatnot. Maybe he shouldn't have.
Well, there's a couple years he's definitely in the argument, and rightfully so. But yeah, the rest of the roster, Karter. I mean, I wrote down potential trade candidates. I don't even know how the money would work, but Michael Porter Jr. has been getting benched in the fourth quarter of close games and overtimes.
I want him
this whole season.
I want my MPJ in Cleveland.
In Cleveland,
yes.
So who you trading for him?
The money has. I'm not
want him there.
I'm not pretending I'm on the trade machine right now. I have no idea how the money would work.
Yeah,
they need a 3. Anytime I see small forward,
but they need defense. And if there's one thing Michael Porter Jr. doesn't have, it's defense. It's like, oh man, like Garland and Donovan Mitchell, a little bit small. Not great defensively. Let's add Michael Porter Jr.
How much should the Cavs give up for DeAndre Hunter?
Oh my God, they should open the check. They should open the wallet. Whatever they want.
I think that's the
Karis LeVert and a first-round pick.
I refuse to say that that dude that played at Duke that's on the Pelicans as a trade.
Can't do it.
Yeah, no, we banned ourselves this season. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think Jokic, SGA, who should get the MVP?
I'll be honest. I think there's a cutoff for me as far as teams where your team is in the standings. If Denver is fighting for a play-in spot, I don't think I can support somebody for MVP like that. And yes, because the thing is, Jokic is the most valuable player to his team in the NBA, without a doubt. But do you know how many years that LeBron could have been the MVP?
Fair. So did you think Russell Westbrook deserved it or James Harden that season?
I mean, I lean James Harden.
So then there you go. So you would say SGA would be the MVP right now if the season ended?
I would.
That's crazy.
I would. Look,
I think I would go
25
Jokic.
and 5. And I don't think SGA is necessarily more valuable to his team than Jokic is, just because the Thunder are better. Mm-hmm. The Thunder have more talent. They're a better overall team. You take SGA off that team or you take Jokic off Denver, the Thunder will be better, without a doubt. But if you're the Nuggets and you're fighting for a play-in spot, and that's no fault of Jokic's, I can't support a guy like that for MVP, even if he is hands down the best player. Because then you got to look in the award, and it's like, what are we really doing with the MVP award? You want to be most valuable player? That's not historically how it's been voted on.
I know it's so interesting because Russell Westbrook,
and that's not going to change this year.
He really changed the precedent of that award and how it's viewed. Because if
I'm not mad that he won it. I'm not mad that he won it.
Well, let's say James Harden got it that year. Without question, we would have just said SGA's award and whatnot. Yeah. Even though we all know Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA right now.
But I also think because Jokic has won it a few times, that also factors into it. Not necessarily voters' fatigue, but I think they'd be a little less likely to cut him some slack as far as where their team is in the standings.
And like you mentioned, it one's a French playoff team, one's a top tier, top team in the West. And matter of the fact is, one's a legitimate, bona fide NBA Finals contender. Mm-hmm. The other one is a fringe NBA Finals contender. But I also think that kind of speaks to how good Jokic is. This team's in the play-in, you'd still wouldn't feel that bad betting on this team making a finals run.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't. You'll probably get a good number. But to make an NFL analogy, if Josh Allen, who's the favorite for MVP this year, if he was 4-13 and he put up these huge numbers, it wouldn't be Josh Allen's MVP. It would be get Josh Allen some help.
Yeah, that's a little apples to oranges, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
If Denver is the 9th seed or the 7th seed in the West, I don't think he's winning it.
Maybe you're onto something a little bit because, in football, it's like there's so many external factors he can't control, like the defense.
I guess.
Like if we look at Joe Burrow right now, I think Joe Burrow's having a phenomenal season.
The NFL will never have an MVP that's not in the playoffs. I cannot see the NFL giving an MVP to somebody that is like 3rd in their division or something.
You don't think if there was a running back that ran for like 3,000 yards? The problem is if a running back runs for 3,000 yards, you're probably in the playoffs because you're that good. So I don't know if we'll ever see that disparity. But
I'm talking about going forward. Historically, somebody can fact check me. I could be wrong. But going forward, I can't see the NFL doing that.
Let's say Amir Abdullah on the Raiders ran for 3,000 yards in a season.
He'll get Offensive Player of the Year. He won't win MVP. And that's where it's a little different because the NBA doesn't have that.
Yeah. Do you think they end up just doing that?
Maybe.
Figure out some kind of award?
It'll be like, they'll split up and be like, okay, this MVP is now turning into the best guy on the best team.
Yeah. And
but we'll still give an Offensive Player of the Year award.
It'll be, there's going to be... It's
going to be the Larry Bird Offensive Player of the Year award.
Larry Bird Offensive Player of the Year award, or like the
Gilbert... No, I'm just kidding. Gilbert Arenas, firing on all cylinders award.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, no,
I'm out of the Nuggets. I'm telling you right now, I'm out of the Nuggets.
I think that's fair.
I don't see them making a run. They don't have it. Same thing with the Wolves. Same thing.
I texted you when I went to the Nuggets game. I think it was like the 4th game of the third game of the season. They were playing the Clippers. I texted you. I go, this is bad.
Yeah,
this is 9-1-1 bad.
How does it get better?
If you go see them in person, it is insane how bad the body language is on the court and everything.
Yeah,
and I mean, I think a stark contrast to that is you saw the Rockets play the Hornets.
Yeah.
The Rockets' body language is unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. And I hesitate being like, oh, man, I trust Houston to make a playoff run more than Denver because Jokic is going to drag that team way farther than they should.
Yep.
But you look at Denver's rotation, you look at their bench, their depth. It's like, all right, Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, DeAndre Jordan playing backup center. Is that really what you want in a playoff series? I can't. And Westbrook's been playing good for them, but they've just been losing pieces without really replacing them. Christian Brown was great as a 7th man, and he's been fine as a starter, but you like him a lot more playing 25 minutes a game off the bench than 38 every single night.
I'm going through these Jokic stats right now. It's unbelievable.
I don't have the on-off numbers in front of me, but I know it's ridiculous.
I don't have the on-off numbers right now. I mean, let's see. Oh, hold up. I don't have the on-off numbers. Just the basic blanket vanilla stats.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. It's out of control. Almost 31 points per game, nearly 10 assists, 12.5 rebounds.
Yeah, what he's doing is crazy.
57% from the field, 50% from 3.
That's insane.
That is outrageous.
And he's taking a decent number of them, too.
Yes, he's taking a ton and shooting nearly 80% from the line. That is outrageous.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's like what your grandpa would tell you about Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to look back and be like, how is this guy not a top 3 player of all time? And maybe he goes down in history as that when it's all said and done. But if you're the Denver Nuggets, I'll put a bow on it here. Look yourself in the mirror. You can't waste this. Because people joke all the time. It's like, oh, Jokic is going to retire and go race horses and stuff. But genuinely, how many years do you have with him? It is not a guarantee.
No, and it's such a shame that certain teams have cheap owners and aren't willing to go all in because – like, imagine if Steve Ballmer is like a little too aggressive with it, but imagine if Steve Ballmer had Jokic on his team and how much he'd be like, no, we're going to go get De'Aaron Fox right now. I don't care if I have to pay an extra $1 billion.
He tried to do it with Kawhi, just the wrong person to do it with.
Yeah, exactly. Tried to do it with Kawhi and Paul George.
Yeah, sorry, Steve Ballmer. I appreciate the effort, but man.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'd love that in Charlotte. At least try.
Last question with Denver. You feel better about them or the Timberwolves?
Nuggets.
As of right now. Really?
I feel better about the Nuggets. I'm actually very concerned about what I see from the Timberwolves, and we're going to look back on that Cat Randall trade and go,
let me tell you, dude.
Oh, my gosh.
It's brutal.
It's bad.
Well, the thing is, like, the thing about Julius Randle, he's a fine player. He takes the ball out of Anthony Edwards' hands way too much. He doesn't fit what they want to do. You replaced Cat, who's a floor spacer. And yes, Randle does certain things better than Cat, but he doesn't space the floor better.
So
that's what you need with Anthony Edwards as your number one option.
We need Brandon Ingram, D'Angelo Russell, and Julius Randle on a team together.
You know? And LeBron.
Oh, my gosh, man.
Maybe throw in Lonzo Ball?
Throw in Lonzo. You know he's making a comeback.
Who, Lonzo? heard LiAngelo's getting a G League deal soon.
No, Jello's doing an OnlyFans probably, for being honest.
I see.
Yeah. Anything else? What else you got?
Quick mini game for you. I want you to don't cheat. Guess the 3-point made leader so far in the NBA season. If you've looked recently, then tell me.
Well, so I'm gonna go not Jokic.
It's not Jokic.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
So I got the top 5 in front of me. Who leads the NBA
I looked at this the other
in
day.
3-pointers made this year through like 30 games?
I looked at this the other day, and the numbers shocked me because Curry was out some games because he was like minus 300 favorite before the season.
Yeah. He's missed too many. Curry's not in the top 5. I'll tell you that.
No, because he fell out a little bit.
I would be shocked if you get more than 2 of these.
Malik Beasley?
He's second.
Okay.
Malik Beasley is second in the NBA.
Malik Beasley was super high when I looked.
Who's number 1?
Who is number 1? Oh, my gosh. Number 1 leader in 3 points this season.
I'll give you a hint. It's a guy that historically hasn't taken a lot of threes.
Kevin Durant?
Anthony Edwards.
Oh, that's it. That's the one. I remember seeing that. I go, because I've seen, look, I'm not going to pretend I'm watching every single game every single night in the NBA. Sometimes I'll go back and check.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hop off then.
I will box score Billy the crap out of the NBA this season. But then you look at the box scores, and Anthony Edwards is like, he took 10 threes tonight.
It's him and Wembanyama both where it's like, oh, they took 25 shots. 12 or 13 of them were from 3.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, my God.
And you just know they were just insanely contested, too.
Oh, yeah.
None of them were wide open.
But the top 5, it's Edwards first, Malik Beasley, Tyler Hero third.
Okay.
Donovan Mitchell fourth, Peyton Pritchard, the 6th man of the year himself.
Doesn't surprise me because Peyton Pritchard, I mean, he is just in the greatest situation where
come in and jack shots. If you don't have it, we'll only play you 20 minutes.
We'll come in jack shots, and then, by the way, we'll get us a 20-point lead at the end of the game. Then it's your game.
Yeah.
Like, this is the Peyton Pritchard show.
And every 6th game, we'll give you a chance against the Wizards to take 35 shots.
Yeah, it's the Peyton Pritchard show, the fourth quarter of 80% of Celtic games.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, Derek White, you've played 10 games in a row. Let's get a little breather tonight. We'll load manage a few guys. Hey, Peyton Pritchard, here's the keys against the Trailblazers. Go take 40 shots.
Yeah, it's like you talk about like Chase Daniel as a backup quarterback forever. You're like, he made a ton of money. He didn't really have to do that much. But like Peyton Pritchard's, even if Peyton Pritchard didn't shoot that well one night, like, who cares?
He's in the best situation in basketball because he's not relied on as a starter. The spotlight's not on him.
Yep.
If the Celtics suck somehow and they lose, he doesn't get the blame.
Yep.
But man, if he goes out there and drops 25, he's a minus 400 favorite for 6th man of the year. He's probably in the best situation in the league right now.
Do you see anybody taking down the Celtics this season?
In the playoffs?
Yeah.
I really think the Thunder can give him a run.
Do you think
I love what I've seen from Hartenstein, and we haven't even seen their full team yet. Chet's out.
Do you think Thunder versus Celtics, who would you take right now in a 7-game series? Everybody's healthy.
Celtics.
I would too.
I'm still taking the Celtics. If you're telling me Porzingis can play just 30 minutes a game,
yep.
It's a cheat code.
Other question, do you see a world if everybody's healthy that it's not Celtics Thunder?
I mean, yeah, I see a world, but if you gave me a gun to my head and said choose the finals matchup right now, it's Celtics Thunder. I've seen nothing this year to sway me from that. Nothing. I've seen nothing that makes me think otherwise.
No, because I think the Grizzlies and the Rockets are going to have an inevitable drop-off.
Yeah, and both of these teams, Boston and OKC, they're doing it without their full lineup even.
What about
Porzingis has been out?
What about the Bucks?
Coming up next on First Take. No. Bucks, hell no.
I hate the Bucks. I cannot see.
We were on that, though. Giannis has dragged this team to 16 and 14. They could be
worse.
worse.
I'm so mad at myself. All offseason, I predicted, I was like, the Warriors are going to win the NBA Cup. The Warriors are going to win the NBA Cup. And right in front of my eyes, it was actually the Milwaukee Bucks for that exact reason.
Hooked.
Everyone's going to be like, oh, the NBA Cup matters. Giannis, LeBron are winners of it.
Hey, they didn't celebrate. They declined the Michelob Ultra celebration in the locker room.
Darvin Ham was like, yeah, dude, they got way too drunk in Vegas and partied. They're like, it kind of effed us up for a few weeks.
Yeah. Look, and that's awesome. I'm glad the Bucks went on that run, but I put almost no stock into that.
Zero.
I hate to say it.
Zero. We saw it last year.
The NBA is going to blacklist this episode. They're going to strike us down for talking down the Emirates NBA Cup.
Yep.
But I'm sorry, I can't put too much stock into that. Like, clearly the guys cared. I'm not saying they didn't care, but it's just another game.
Yeah. Yeah, it is just.
I feel bad about the Bucks, Karter.
No, it's a disaster.
It is a disaster.
It is a full blown disaster. They'll make the real playoffs.
Are they your most disappointing team this year?
It's tough because I had no expectations for them.
There you go.
You want to know my real most disappointing team?
Go ahead.
Charlotte.
Yeah. I really thought they'd be at least like a 7 or 8.
I thought they would be right under 500.
7-24.
They're in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, which is kind of awesome.
They're hard to watch. I went the other night. Shout out everyone who went to the Hornets Rockets game if you were there. They rolled out a lineup of Daquan Jeffries, Isaiah Wong, Nick Smith Jr., Moussa Diabate, and T.
I do like Isaiah Wong and Diabate, though.
T. Salon.
Yeah.
And that's what I watched for almost the whole fourth quarter. I could have saved my money and went to a Swarm game the next night for $10.
Yeah, sat courtside. They probably would have given we've talked to them. They'll credential the Karter.
You know what?
Guys. Yeah. we might have got a credential with them.
We'll get some of the Hornets' best players playing for the Swarm. Yeah, awful to watch. Just brutal to watch. And they're finally healthy now, and it still doesn't matter. Still lose to Washington.
Yeah, and okay, we'll get Hornets Minute out of the way.
Let's do it.
I'm actually I've come around on this where I actually think this is the best case scenario for the Hornets.
I can't do it. My wallet says it's not the best case scenario for the Hornets. Side note, do you know how much money I'm going to lose on Panthers and Hornets futures this year? Probably enough to pay for this podcast for like 10 years.
My Panthers futures all just died today because of the Buccaneers.
Sure did.
We both probably had over 5.5 wins, and they'll finish 5-12.
Oh, they will.
They're going to beat Michael Penix next week.
100%.
But
it's not going to matter.
With the Hornets, I'm actually kind of okay with this, and it's loser talk, and it's lame, and it's stupid, and whatever, but I would rather be at the bottom right now and be in the sweepstakes to get a generational player that can take you to that next level than make the play-in and be cute.
Really?
Yeah.
So if I gave you the option to be a bottom 5 team in the league in a stacked draft class or host a play-in game.
Top 5 pick this year. That's how much I believe in this draft.
It hurts while it's happening, though. I'll tell you that.
It's awful.
It's like being stabbed with death by 1,000 paper cuts.
And there's been injuries and people have been out and no one's ever played together and whatnot either. The scary part for the Charlotte Hornets is that it's becoming clear and evident that LaMelo Ball can't play winning basketball.
Yeah, and I hate to say that. And you look up and down this Hornets roster, and maybe I've got my Charlotte bias glasses on right now, but they have more talent than a lot of these teams. I know they do.
Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, LaMelo Ball, Mark Williams. That is a solid lineup right there.
Josh Green's been a pretty good piece for in his past few years in the league. They've got guys that I think a lot of teams would want on their team, but for some reason they just don't mesh. I don't understand what it is, and maybe it is LaMelo Ball as that first option just doesn't work, and Miles Bridges has taken a step back. He's not nearly as explosive as he was a couple of years ago before everything that happened, and it sucks because you look up and down the roster, and there's no way they should be 7-24.
No.
And I've seen, the thing I've seen floating around recently on Hornets Twitter, by the way, dark place to be, Hornets Twitter, Hornets Reddit, dark place to be. People are saying, James Borrego wasn't the problem. James Borrego was working miracles with this team. And as much as I called for his head, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right.
Maybe Russillo was right.
Maybe all the crap that national media gives the Hornets and immediately saying that LaMelo Ball should go to LA after a year and a half in Charlotte. Maybe they're all right. Maybe he should.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't even think it's a Charles Lee problem. Clearly it's not.
You can't get out there and play, but it's a lot easier to blame one guy than 10. Same thing with Mike Brown and the Kings.
Yeah, and there's a lot more money at stake with those players instead of that coach and whatnot.
Exactly, a lot more investment.
I think that's enough on the Hornets, to be honest. But get me Cooper Flag, get me Yegor Demon, Ace Bailey, get me one of these cats to the Hornets. We need a generational superstar because let's just paint a world. Let's just say a miracle happens. Cooper Flag ends up on the Charlotte Hornets. The outlook of this team you think of is night and day.
It's actually exactly what they need.
Exactly what they need. LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, Cooper Flag, Mark Williams.
That's a 33-win team.
If they're healthy, that is a 42-win team.
That's what I said about this year's team.
Yeah, that's a 42-win team.
Yeah, you're probably right.
That's a 42-win team.
My most disappointing team.
Yeah. What's your most disapponing team this season in the NBA?
Minnesota Timberwolves. It's not even close.
Oh.
Because like you said, I had expectations for them coming into the year. And I as soon as the Julius Randle trade was made, I figured the Knicks won it. I was like, basketball fit-wise, this makes more sense for New York.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed in Minnesota. They're 16-14 right now. They were 23-7 through 30 games last year. They're third in net rating this year. They were 12th last year. Anthony Edwards last year averaged a career low 6.5 threes a game. This year he's taking almost 10.
Settling.
He is shooting a career high, but it's taking almost 10 threes a game. And I've watched some Timberwolves this year. This isn't the only reason. Julius Randle takes up a lot of space in the lane. when you've got Julius Randle and Gobert down there, and Julius Randle's doing his back to the basket post up thing, it's a lot different than Cat sitting on the wing waiting to shoot a three.
Yep.
So I think it hurts Anthony Edwards. Randle's attempting his lowest field goals per game since his Lakers days. DiVincenzo's shooting 33% from three after 40 last year. Nas Reed shooting 35% from three after 41 last year. Something's not working with this team. And it's evident on the court.
Yeah, and that's the right answer, is the Timberwolves are the most disappointing team. Why is it?
You're wasting Anthony Edwards' prime years. And I don't know what was the motivation in trading Cat for Julius Randle. I'm not even mad at them for trading Karl Anthony Towns, but how did they think that Julius Randle would be a better fit to take this team farther in the playoffs?
I don't even know if it was a better I don't think it was a basketball fit play. It must have been something in the locker room.
Just maybe like the voice got stale, changed something up. Maybe they hit their ceiling with Towns. Like, I don't know what it is.
I don't think so at all, though, is the issue.
But Towns was like shocked when it happened.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm like. I wonder, is like, was there something where they were like, hey, there was issues with Cat and Gobert in the locker room or something?
But if that was the case, then why at the end of last year did Edwards keep having those press conferences with Cat, building him up and like doing the whole thing?
Maybe because there was something and he was doing that to the media to try and hide that. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. And you know what? The DiVincenzo piece was supposed to be a big part of this. He's been less than stellar this year too.
Yeah, he's been kind of bad.
Something just doesn't work. And Mike Conley's your point guard. He's 38. He's played top 3 minutes in the NBA all-time career right now of active players or something like that. And then you've got like Rob Dillingham as a rookie, but he doesn't even play for them. That's their first-round pick. He doesn't even play.
No, I know, and they traded for him too.
So what do you do if you're the Wolves? You're in no man's land. And from a basketball fit perspective, Julius Randle doesn't make as much sense with Gobert as Towns did. And that didn't make any sense. But this makes even less sense.
Who are their 3 best players in your mind?
It's got to be Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert.
When 2 out of 3 of your best players are complete non-threats from outside of 5 feet, that's a problem in modern basketball.
It forces the other one to take 23s a game, which is what we're seeing.
We talk about that in college basketball. Kansas right now, they're 3 best players. The defense is thrilled if they shoot.
Yeah, and the whole thing, we were killing the Timberwolves for the Rudy Gobert trade a few years ago, and the fit with Towns, at least on offense, it worked because Towns could shoot. And then defensively, is Julius Randle that much of an upgrade from Towns? Realistically.
No.
I mean, he's another big body. He rebounds well, but he's not like an all-world defender to make a bunch of sense. I don't know what they do, Karter, and I don't know what they do.
Yeah, I'm nervous about Minnesota. Can Philly make a comeback?
That was my other honorable mention, is Philadelphia for most disappointing team. I think they can.
Yeah, the McCain injury is very disappointing.
That sucks because he was probably a front runner for Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
If he didn't get hurt. If you're the Sixers, I mean, they've got the pieces. They've got some guys off the bench that I would trust in a series. They just haven't been on the court together.
And I think they can come back, especially in a weaker Eastern Conference. I'm looking at the standings right now over there.
Yeah.
You're seeing Miami. They've got weird stuff going on. Indiana, they're kind of a shell of what they were at that NBA Cup run. Chicago, Detroit. I like Detroit. I think Detroit.
Yeah, they've been pretty frisky.
They're pretty fun. They're frisky, but Philadelphia is way better than them. I think Philadelphia is better than Milwaukee too. I think Philadelphia should be the 4 or 5 seed when it's all said and done this season. I actually think they will. Yeah. I know they're 5-6 games behind right now. I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll string some games together. I'm not worried.
They could easily rip off 10 wins in a row.
100%.
Tyrese Maxey's playing out of his mind too.
Yeah, and the Bucks, I think, are just gonna collapse.
I feel better about the Sixers. Well,
do you feel better about the Sixers or the Bucks?
I think I feel better about the Sixers. If you're telling me
if everyone's healthy,
yeah, everyone's healthy, I feel better about the Sixers.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
100%. And that's not a knock on Giannis because I would take Giannis over anybody on that.
No, it's a knock on everything around Giannis.
Exactly. It's a knock on Lillard's defense. It's a knock on Doc Rivers. It's a knock on their depth.
Chris Middleton's age. Yep.
Exactly. And if you're the Sixers, yeah, Paul George has been less than stellar, but Tyrese Maxey's been damn good every single game.
Yep.
Every single night he'll play 38 minutes and tear it up. And if Embiid's out there, I think this team, I mean, they're going to make a comeback this year.
Yeah, I'm actually not that concerned about them. Going back, talking about Jared McCain real quick. Quick redraftables. Shout out The Ringer. Shout out Bill Simmons.
Yep.
If you redrafted the 2024 NBA draft class, who goes number 1 overall?
I think the answer has to be Jared McCain.
I think it has to be Jared McCain as well.
You're talking about a guy that came in, instantly contributed, what did he get taken, 17th, 16th?
Yeah,
a guy outside the lottery to come in and instantly contribute like that. He's been great for them this year. And the injury sucks, and people are going to forget, but he was doing so much for that team while Embiid was out.
And he's such a great vibes guy in the locker room and everything too.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, I understand. Like people can hate the TikToks and whatever. I mean, I don't care about the TikToks, to be honest.
Duke guy over here biased.
Okay, whatever. But he's just such a good team player and plays so hard every single night. And it's so fascinating. I see a lot of similarities with Bryce Young and Jared McCain, where it's like they're a smaller guy. They got that positive attitude and whatnot. And also, but they kind of punch up a little bit where you're like, hey, the question was with Jared McCain is like, is he going to be able to be a legitimate scorer at the NBA level? We saw it in college, we saw it in high school, but at his size, can he do it? And he's clearly shown he can play with anybody.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's also a testament to how weak the rookie class overall has been.
Oh, 100%.
Because if you're putting Jared McCain in almost any other draft class, he's not the number one pick.
Late lottery.
Yeah,
but you're a lottery guy.
You're talking this year, though.
One.
It has to be. And there's other guys like Jalen Wells for the Memphis Grizzlies has been great, and Zach Edey's been fine.
Connect's been fine.
Connect's been good for the Lakers, and Reece Sachet's been okay for the Hawks, but I think I got to go McCain. Castle's been good for the Spurs. That's another one.
I think, to be honest, my order would be McCain, Castle, Connect.
Yeah, if you're talking about guys that can come in and instantly contribute, yeah. I think you're right.
It's crazy.
That is crazy. Imagine saying Jared McCain will be the best player in the draft.
I said Dalton Connect was the best player in the draft.
That's not far off.
We did it. Yeah.
Well, he went 17, which is crazy, and we don't have to get into this, but it's the age-old argument of let me take an 18-year-old guy from France that doesn't really know how to dribble.
I got trashed for that online.
Yeah, or we'll take Dalton Connect, who he's 3 years older, but he'll come in and play right now. Meanwhile, the other guy takes 5 years to develop and might not even be anything.
Yeah, and that's the other thing we talk about NBA draft development that bugs me. With they're like, okay, well you want to draft young, and everything. You go, okay. That's great, but when it's a super raw talent and you're drafting them top 10 in a draft, and all of a sudden you're like 2-3 years in, now they're finally starting to get their feet wet. Guess what? Their contract's coming up. Let's say they have one good their fourth year, their contract year, they ball out. Let's say they're finally...
You got to pay them.
Then you got to pay them. You just spent 3 years. They're just absolutely duds to you. Like you're not winning there, and... That's why, but a guy like Connect, I understand he's older, so his is a little bit different to where it's like, okay, you probably shouldn't go to the Wizards. That's not going to do anything for them. The Wizards should take that swing. But if you're a team like Miami, Golden State, Sixers, these playoff teams.
Win now teams. It's
like you got to get a guy like that. And there are teams in the top 10. Like Dalton Connect could be very useful right now on the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, 100%.
Jared McCain would have been awesome on the Minnesota Timberwolves.
He's exactly what the Wolves needed.
100%.
Jared McCain is exactly what the Wolves needed.
But no, I think Rob Dillingham can be that guy. He doesn't play.
He doesn't play. It'll take a little bit longer, I think, for him to contribute.
Yeah, shout out the Iowa Wolves.
Yeah, exactly. My other honorable mention was the Pelicans. I don't even want to talk about them. 5-27. We were way off on that. There's been injuries, but we were just way off.
Injuries, yeah. We'll just say injuries.
Do you still believe in Zion?
Do you need an official statement?
I do. I need a stockbroker meeting on Zion Williamson.
We are. Look, so as one of the lead Zion shareholders,
big investment.
It's starting to look like Hawk to a coin.
The projection's looking a little low.
Yeah, the extension might have been a rug pull, and we as shareholders we might have gotten cooked.
Looking like the Hawk to a coin. Who's going to jail? Somebody's doing prison time then.
I don't know. The Pelicans?
David Griffin? Yeah.
Raising Cane's? Cook at McDonald's?
Gumbo?
Mountain Dew? Because look, I really think we'll look back from years from now. You remember seeing how disappointed he was at the draft lottery when the Pelicans got that? That's going to be a very telling moment in NBA history because you can tell he was pissed he wasn't going to play for the Knicks. Then his best friend goes to New York.
Yeah, exactly. Is Zion going to be the biggest what if in NBA history?
Do you think he reaches Greg Oden status?
That was my next thing. Is Greg Oden's up there? What if Yao Ming stayed healthy?
I think
there's a few.
I think he's in that camp.
I think he is too.
Yeah,
because in spurts, in flashes, he's looked like a top 5 player.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating. And also, look, I'm gonna hold my stock. We're gonna go down with the ship, but he's got to go. Like, if you're the Pelicans, like,
but the thing is, the Pelicans, in their eyes, will never get enough back for him to make it worth it.
I don't.
And a team trading for him will never want to put up.
But what's the point then? If you're the Pelicans at that point, like,
you cling on to the fact that he could be a top 5 player.
Build around Trey Murphy.
Imagine saying that with Zion and Brandon Ingram and Murray and CJ McCollum, and say build around Trey Murphy.
Get rid of CJ.
Trey Murphy's not a cornerstone of a franchise. He's a great player. You don't build around Trey Murphy, though.
But get down and build around this next draft pick. Like, do they even have their draft pick? What's the trade stuff?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
We got to get stats.
Yeah, we'll get stats on that.
But yeah, something else I was trying to think of real quick. I can't remember. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, well, I actually don't want to talk about the Pelicans anymore. DeJounte Murray deal, disaster. People talk about running somebody on a trade. That is.
Yep.
Giving up Dyson Daniels alone would have made that trade a disaster.
Uh-huh.
To give up Larry Nance and 2 first-round picks as well.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, and
malpractice.
The Hawks,
there's the prison time.
Yeah, there you go. And the Hawks, they've been solid.
The Hawks have been good this year.
Yeah.
And Trae Young hasn't even been amazing. Jalen Johnson's been damn good.
Jalen Johnson has been legit.
Okay, he only played, half a year at Duke. Did you know he would do this in the league?
No, because that season was so strange in college, in all sports.
That was the COVID year, right?
Yeah, because, I mean, you heard I'm sure you heard Baughan on Theo Pinson's podcast, and he was like, oh, when we lost to Wisconsin in the NCAA tournament, we were legit happy. Like, we were excited to be done. Like, we hated that entire year. And it's such an interesting way to think about it. And, like, all these teams were living in hotels. They weren't allowed to be even around each other a lot of the times outside of the facility and whatnot. So it's tough to say that. He still says he's a Duke guy, so I'm claiming it.
You can claim him. You claim Kyrie.
Yeah, but he actually played. Like, he played in March Madness too.
Okay, but how many games did Jalen Johnson play versus Kyrie? It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty close. But Jalen Johnson left is the thing.
Yeah,
like, he left
mid-season.
That is true. Kyrie Irving did play in March. May have actually hurt Duke in the long run in March Madness. May have messed up the chemistry a little bit with Nolan Smith and those guys, but not a college basketball show.
Yeah, that's been Pelicans Minute. Most surprising team. Let's do a little transition here. Most surprising team in the NBA through about 30, 32 games for each team so far.
I would say the Rockets.
I think the Rockets?
Yeah.
Is this smoke and mirrors, or do they have a shot to win a playoff series?
The right matchup, they can win a playoff series. Let's say it ended up being Memphis versus Houston.
I don't know what I'm doing in that case. I don't know what I'm doing in that case.
I bet the Vegas odds are -110 on each side.
Probably.
And so, therefore, yeah, I think they could win one with the right matchup.
My concern with the Rockets, though, is during the regular season, it's fine. Oh, it's your night. Yeah. Fred VanVleet has 40 tonight. Jalen Green has 35 tonight. Shangoon has a 30-point triple-double tonight. There's not a lot of consistency.
No.
And in a playoff series, how many of those guys do you trust at the end of a game, in a close game, to get you a bucket, or do you trust them to get a stop? Because I don't. Because there's nights when Jalen Green has 30 and he looks awesome, and there's nights where he has 6 points on 3 for 15, but it doesn't matter because another guy stepped up. That doesn't really happen in the playoffs. You need a go-to guy.
Yeah, maybe Jalen Green can be that.
I don't.
I wouldn't bet on it.
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't bet on it.
But they have I will say this. I'll credit Houston. They have a ton of depth and a ton of good pieces that I do love.
I can't believe how they've built out from, like,
how many draft picks they've hit on.
This is a masterclass of how to, if you're in, let's say, a team like Clippers are a tough example because they're like they're legitimately cooked. But, like,
I agree.
Honestly, like, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks right now,
yeah,
they don't have a lot of draft picks. They still have this, one of the best players in the NBA right now.
Yeah,
I think you just got to look at that Houston thing and go, we got to do whatever they did. Because the fact that Houston's on the other side of that now is remarkable. And honestly, a decently short amount of time in the grand scheme of things.
It feels like they just had Harden a few years ago.
Yeah, it was, 20...
When did he leave? 2020?
2020.
Or 21?
Yeah, 2020. Yeah, the COVID.
That's a really quick turnaround.
That's a super quick turnaround.
The Hornets have been trying to do that for 10 years.
They mean the entire existence since... since the early 90s.
Yeah, there you go.
Muggsy Bogues.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely. And so, shout out to the Rockets.
I do want to give the Rockets a lot of credit. And honestly, Ime Udoka, the perfect coach for a team like that. A young team with a lot of personality, a lot of egos on the team. He knows how to manage it.
Yeah. Do you think he's taken up Harden's VIP services in
No, I think he's turned his act around, Karter.
I don't even know what actually ended up happening in that Boston situation. It's like
it seemed like a case where they didn't want to fire him, but they had to.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he was hooking up with an employee or something. Like
anyone who looks LeBron dead in the face and calls him a name, he's okay in my book.
But you're a bronsexual.
No, see, this is the narrative that gets created.
Closeted.
Maybe. Door's cracked.
Yeah, you're closeted bronsexual.
I appreciate him more as time goes on.
It's
coming up next, Bronny Rookie of the Year odds back on the board. I do want to shout out the Rockets though.
Shout out the Rockets
exciting.
big time.
Yeah, they're exciting.
Let's do a couple like quick fire questions kind of thing. What?
My most surprising team, real quick.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Memphis Grizzlies. We got to touch on them. We have to talk on them.
You were you were down on them.
I was way down on them. They're currently sitting at 22-10 right now, second in the Western Conference. Let me rattle off a couple quick stats. Lead the NBA in points per game. Lead the NBA in pace. Lead the NBA in missed games due to injury, and they're still 22-10. They're above the Pelicans in games missed due to injury. Look, they don't have a five-man lineup that's played more than 84 minutes together, so the consistency is a problem there. They still find ways to win games. I don't understand. But I'm going to say this. As good as they've been, I'm still out.
Yeah, I don't believe in them. I mean, they can win a playoff series.
I don't even think they can do that.
Really?
No, I don't. Dude,
look who they're potentially going against, though. If they can mess around and end up getting in that 2 spot.
They won't, though. They won't. And here's why. They play the second easiest schedule in the NBA. They have the toughest strength of schedule remaining. So, the toughest.
Does everybody have the toughest strength of schedule remaining?
The 2 times I mentioned that, like the top 2 or 3 teams.
Kings?
Was it the Kings? One of them did. Yeah, Kings.
So the Cavs, Kings, and
it might be Kings, Cavs, Grizzlies top 3 on the website I looked at. Yeah, and I don't know how much that means as far as seeding wise. But if you're the Grizzlies, you've been great. But where's the consistency? Ja Morant hasn't played more than 5 games in a row in like 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, they're not a finals contender or anything, but like, this is great compared to. I mean,
I was way down. I can't believe this.
Think about last season. I mean, it was a community college.
They set the record for what, like 57 guys played for them or something last year?
That's what I'm saying.
Which is nuts.
They were a Division III program
That's a football
last year.
team.
Yes.
That's a football team.
Yes, they were a division. Shout out Lees McRae. That was Memphis.
And what's crazy is if you would have told me, hey, Connor, through 32 games, they're 22-10, I'd have been like, oh, man, Ja Morant and Desmond Bane must be going off. Ja's missed 12 games. Desmond Bane's averaging 15 points this year after averaging 24 last year. And the Grizzlies are still second in the conference. Yeah. Jaren Jackson's been great. I'll give him some credit.
How much of it is just what teams are just playing hard?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it, especially
like the
regular season. Yeah.
And these things will die down and even out a little bit, but like if you're a team like Denver, if you get to that 6 seed, do you care?
I don't think so.
Because I don't even think Denver at home court like is that crazy of an advantage. I mean, we saw Game 7 last year. They lost at home. Like,
here's a question for you. If, let's say, Memphis does hold on to a 2 or a 3 seed and Denver gets the 6 seed, is Denver favored in that series against Memphis?
Oh, yeah.
I think they're favored, which is nuts.
I think Denver is favored against all but Thunder.
Maybe Dallas.
And I think Dallas would be like Dallas minus 130, Nuggets plus 100.
So we could see a world where like Houston and Memphis are 2 and 3, but yet Dallas and Denver are favored of them, or even Minnesota if they figure it out.
100%. 100%.
So then how much does the regular season even matter? Like, yeah, Memphis
That's the issue.
Memphis is exciting. You're the 2 seed, but
it kind of goes full circle to what we talked about from the top of this is like, how does the NBA fix this problem? Is it as simple as make it a 60-game season?
I don't want to be a gatekeeper of like stats and historian of the game or whatever, but then it's like, all right, all these stats and numbers that people care about to use for arguments in NBA history, it's like, if you jump from 82 to 60 games, how do you differ that?
And then, but the problem is the money part of it. That's the
boring
answer.
That's the right answer. They will never, the league, the owners will never, ever, ever cut out potential to make money like that. Ever. Yeah. That's why the NFL added an extra week. That's why we're doing the Emirates NBA Cup now with an extra game in there for the championship. They will never miss out on an opportunity to get more profit like that.
Yeah. And I don't know how you fix it.
I don't either. And that's a larger conversation for maybe a different episode, but you got to make people care more because this might just be me not being as locked in. Does it feel like there's been more injuries, big stars missing games here and there more than ever?
It just feels like...
Or does it feel like the same? We're just right back in it.
I feel like it's a little more of that, and it's also another thing of when you watch a game, you can almost visibly tell they don't care on the court sometimes. There's certain guys, I'm not going to say like everybody's doing that and whatnot, but when you're watching a game, you go, they don't care about this Tuesday night game. Why should I? Why should I, as a fan that pays for League Pass, if they're not going to care on the court, why on earth should I care? And that's why the NFL and college football and even college basketball to a degree, college basketball is an inferior product when you're looking at it from a pure basketball perspective. But that's why those products have more just pure fans, because they know every single night it's 100%.
Yeah, I agree. But if you're in the NBA and you're making $100 million guaranteed dollars, why should you care?
Why would you care?
Why would you?
99% of people would just be fine going to work and going home. They just want to chill with their friends and family, which you can't blame them for that. But if you're making $100 million, you're like, dude, I don't have to do anything the rest of my life now.
And that's a horrible way to look at it, but it's not like it's guaranteed money.
It's guaranteed money.
Yeah.
If you think about Zion right now, he's guaranteed to make $200+ million.
Yeah. Why does he care if he wants to come back and play for a 5-27 team?
He's like, dude, wait, I can chill, smoke weed, drink Mountain Dew, watch anime.
Yeah, there you go.
I think
you're hitting the target audience.
Yeah. We mentioned a P word, and then we hit the whole thing.
There you go. Pelicans.
No, one other quick fire thing I wanted to do real quick. If the Nuggets did not have Nikola Jokic, what would their record be? And would they be better than the Washington Wizards?
So right now, Denver's 17-13. I think without Nikola Jokic, 7-22, 7-23 would be their record.
You think they still have a better record than the Wizards, who are currently at 5 wins right now, 5-24?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they are that exact same level.
So you think without Nikola Jokic,
the
Nuggets would be the worst team in the NBA?
Yes.
I think they win a few more games than the Wizards. I think Porter get hot for 40 one game. Westbrook has a triple-double one game. I mean, there's guys in the Nuggets that could get hot for a game.
I don't sure. Jordan Poole can get hot for a game too.
Let's say the Nuggets have to play an 82-game season. No Jokic, he's out for the year. What's the Nuggets record? 82-game season.
20-62.
You think they get 20 wins? I would go even lower.
I was gonna. I felt like
15.
Being nice.
15.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're the Wizards bad. They're
maybe you're
bad.
right. Yeah, they might have 15 wins in the season without him.
It's awful.
DeAndre Jordan playing 30 minutes a night.
It's awful.
Hey, Zeke Naji, get up. You're in. Hunter Tyson, you're in.
I like Hunter Tyson.
He's fine. Doesn't play.
He doesn't play enough. I like Hunter Tyson.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just an ACC homer. Any other quick fire questions you want to do real quick?
Give me one team that should blow it up. And I'm not talking like, oh, the Wizards. Like, to qualify for this, you can't be like, oh, we have to blow up Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma. Like, you have to have something substantial to blow up. So, like, for example, mine's the Bulls. The number one team that comes to mind is Chicago Bulls. Look,
how do you even blow it up?
Well, it's harder than ever to trade stars, but they're in no man's land. They're exciting. Giddey's been good for them this year, but it's been this way for 2 years. Their ceiling is an 8th seed. Their ceiling is the play-in team.
So then what would you say about the Warriors?
You've got one of the best 8 players in the league in Stephen Curry.
What about the Bucks?
You've got one of the best 2 players in the league. You can't blow it up. If you're the Bucks, you cannot blow it up. I'm talking like rebuild mode. If you have Giannis on your team, that is never an option. You have to try to piece and patchwork stuff together around him. Same thing with Curry in his last few years in Golden State. You have to try to be competitive. If you're the Bulls, find a way to get off Levine's contract. Find a way to get off Vucevic's contract. Have some direction.
You know what the answer is for the blow it up team?
Don't say the Hornets.
It's the Kings.
I had them too. I had them too. We did a lot on the Kings, but I had them too. The DeRozan thing didn't work out.
DeRozan didn't work out. The ceiling is so there. The Sabonis-Halliburton trade is looking very even, like we talked about earlier. De'Aaron Fox has great trade value. You could get a lot out of it. You could even get a lot out of Sabonis, but you're historically butt cheeks franchise.
And this is not even a knock. I like Fox. I like Sabonis. I even like DeRozan.
I like watching the Kings play a lot.
But your ceiling with De'Aaron Fox as your best player, will they ever win a playoff series? I hate to say it.
No.
They won't.
No.
What's the ceiling with Sabonis as your best player? They're fine as number 2 options. If Fox is on a team with a top 5 guy in the league, sure.
Defensively, you're just in a terrible spot at that point.
And then signing DeRozan, fine, but that takes away from Keegan Murray's development. Now their future looks even bleaker. And their bench sucks. We've been over that. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
That's a team with not a lot of direction, and it sucks Mike Brown had to be the scapegoat, but I think people will realize sooner rather than later that wasn't the problem.
If you close your eyes and imagine, Cooper Flag in an NBA jersey. What jersey is that?
The Utah Jazz.
Is it just because he's white?
Yes. That's exactly why.
I don't see him in Utah. I don't know what it is.
I'm telling you right now, though, the NBA will not let him go to like Toronto. They will not let him go to Canada.
I could see. I think Charlotte or Brooklyn.
I would die to have him in Charlotte.
I would do unspeakable things.
I could see Brooklyn. I really could see Brooklyn.
Yeah, I could see Charlotte or Brooklyn. Anybody else down there that would?
Portland?
I would be upset if he went to Portland.
I would be upset. What's the worst landing spot for Cooper Flag?
Pelicans.
Wizards.
I just think the Pelicans are a cursed franchise.
I think,
and you're
right.
They have been handed all-time generational players: Chris Paul, Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson. They've done nothing with them.
What do they have to
nothing.
Show for it? Yeah,
nothing. They hurt their careers.
Yeah, they did.
So I just think New Orleans is a cursed franchise.
And another curse when they had DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis on the same team, and it looked like they were finally ready to make some noise. Holiday, Rondo,
Injuries.
Yeah, injuries. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Brutal stuff.
Anything else?
Last thing I had, trade candidates. We've touched on a few of these. Jonathan Kuminga scored 34 in his last 2 games. Does he go somewhere else? Is this kind of like a showcase?
Cleveland?
That would be amazing.
Jonathan Kuminga to Cleveland?
But the price for Jonathan Kuminga is probably going to be more than what it's worth.
Yeah, probably, but young piece.
You take a swing on a guy like that. Yeah,
but then it's like it becomes more of a Warriors conversation at that point. It's like, okay, if you're Golden State, what do you want?
Jimmy Butler?
Yeah, you know?
Nah, they won't.
One more swing with Curry?
They won't do that. How about Pat Riley taking a stand?
Love it.
I think
love it.
I would love it if owners would be more open.
Love it.
But he's at the age now where it's like, screw it.
Yeah, and he's also got the credentials to say that. Like, that's why Charles Barkley can make fun of NBA players and be like, "Oh, you're terrible. You're terrible."
He's paid
all this stuff. Yeah, like he's been in that spot. He's an NBA Hall of Famer, one of the best players in NBA history, kind of thing.
And as we see more owners hit that age of like just not giving an F anymore, it's almost like your grandpa's like, you know what? I'm 70. Screw it. I'm gonna hit like on my granddaughter's friend's Facebook post. It's like, screw it. We'll do it.
Or you're like, granddad? No. You cannot say that about them.
Yeah. It's like, oh, how was your haircut? Awful. It's like, I don't care.
You're like, no, they're like, there's a lot of those people in town. You're like, nah!
Yeah, exactly. Back in my day.
Yeah, back in my
But as more owners get to that age and people refuse to sell teams, I think we're going to see more of this. I think it's going to be hilarious. I love it.
I love it. Dude, we just get a retirement home of owners. Yeah, no.
No, the public statement's always funny. And Jimmy Butler releasing that on Christmas is hilarious. Like, hey, Merry Christmas, guys. I want to be traded. To where? And they were, let's go to Phoenix.
Did he leak it to Rachel Nichols?
He leaked something to Rachel Nichols. I don't know if it was that. Oh, man.
What a great way to cap off this podcast.
Great. That's great.
Anything else?
Nah, I'm just looking at any other teams we need to touch on. Phoenix, I was high on coming into the year. I'm not ready to push the panic button yet.
No, not yet. I'm not too concerned about Phoenix or anything.
I think as far as teams go, that's about it.
That's a great check-in.
Miami Heat.
I don't care. No.
Rozier on the bench now. Tough.
How
the mighty have fallen.
I don't care about
That's about it, yeah.
No, it's a good pod. We went a while. We went over an hour.
Yeah.
Like, very solid podcast. First in-person podcast.
I know. I like it. It's a little different. So thanks for working with us through the kinks. You know, it's my first time doing this.
Hopefully it sounds good. We'll find out.
Yeah, we will find out. But, yeah, good check-in. About 32 games in. We're going to pick up with the NBA content as football dies down. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to get more interested. So,
yeah, I'm excited.
Lock in, everyone.
Yeah, I'm locked down. I've been forcing – that's the thing. I've been having to force myself to watch NBA games and stuff. Yeah. Like you watch the whole Christmas slate. Christmas was awesome though.
Yeah. NBA reported their highest viewership numbers in 5 years for Christmas Day games. Very convenient.
Very convenient after Netflix releases their NFL numbers.
Who do we believe more? Because I believe Netflix.
I believe Netflix way more.
Yeah, it's like the NBA is doing some shady stuff where it's like, we're going to add together all these numbers. I'll be honest. I guarantee not a single ratings number released in the last 10 years is accurate. Not a single one. With streaming and stuff and like TVs on in bars and like you try to count like the household people that are watching, you'll never get an accurate number.
No, never. The other one is like, does the NBA like put out like Are they going to start including the numbers from, like, they put out a LeBron dunking clip on Twitter and it got 10 million views?
100%.
They're like, yeah, we got like 69 million views on this last game with the Lakers. Like, it was a Tuesday night League Pass game.
That's the next step where it's like, yeah, this tweet we put out reached 70 million people in engagement.
It reached 2.1 billion impressions.
Yeah, that is 100% the next like measuring stick.
It's a way to just fluff up the numbers for advertisers and whatnot.
Well, working in TV like I have for so many years, it's like, it doesn't matter. You'll push your narrative based on the ratings. Where it's like, oh, this is the most watched month of First Take in blah blah blah. You cherry pick the stats.
We need to put.
This is the most watched February ever.
We need to do that for the Karter Cast and put out like 500 million impressions.
Yeah, we should. This is the most watched episode in the last 2 years on a Tuesday or something like that.
It's like on a rainy Sunday in December in the year 2024.
When Dylan wears his glasses, this is our most watched episode.
Commenters are after him.
Yeah, they are. We got to come to his defense. We're back this week in football.
Yeah, we're back this week in football. We already did the college football show, so make sure to tune into that.
I gave it a listen. I called some heat on that.
Did catch some heat, but we did an in-person podcast. Makes up for it.
Had to.
Dylan, you're next. You're next, buddy. You're the only one that hasn't done an in-person pod, so make sure to subscribe. Make sure to download SeatGeek. Use code CarterCast, $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required at CarterCast on everything. Check out the college football preview shows. We have all the game clips, the whole show, and everything on YouTube right now. Yeah. Very convenient, very easy. It's on Twitter as well. Go check it out at CarterCast on everything. I think that's it.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me in the basement.
We'll see you on. Yeah, shout out Mom's Basement. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.